summer's officially over, Steve. It is now autumn. It's time for the scary movies and pumpkin spice lattes. And we got a movie about the change in the seasons, or a man that's for all of them. Am I wrong in assuming that this covers every season? That's what it's about, right?
Does,
it's like the
yeah.
weather.
It takes, I think within the space of a year, yeah. There is snow, there's autumn, there's spring and summer. As far as I can tell, I mean, there's so many time jumps in here that kind of just happen.
It's like Groundhog's Day. It's a movie about a weatherman, but in the past. I think that's what it is. It's like pre-meteorology. That's why Kevin Smith loves it. He's like, I love the blending of the science with the nature, with the religion, and wait, there's
well,
religion?
I'm not so sure that it takes place on the same exact day over and over and over again, but you know what? Sure, I'll let you go with that.
He never shaves. He's always clean shaven. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
Welcome to Death Cinema. I'm Brian Gillis.
And I'm Steven Malmanex.
Like most people, we love going to the theater and catching the latest releases. However, sadly, you put a big dent in your wallet.
Fortunately, living in the digital age makes the viewing possibilities endless from the comforts of home.
Many of these films that you can see right from your couch, we're ashamed to say we missed, despite labeling ourselves cinephiles.
So join us as one or both of us cross off a title from our list of shame.
It can be an all-time essential classic,
or an underrated piece of cinema that's worth giving a shot.
Hell, it might just be some trashy film we want the others' opinion on. So sit tight and join us as we pay off our debts, $1 at a time.
So we're backstage, and I was laying down. I was taking a nap before I came out, and all of a sudden the door opens, and Steven comes in, and he starts busting lines from. This is where you get to talk. He starts busting lines from A Man for All Seasons, one of my favorite movies in the world. So I turned to him, and I busted. He busted a line, so I busted a line. So I was like, Richard, it profits a man nothing to give his soul for the whole world, but for whales. And we did it like that.
When did we talk about this? It was like the last episode of 2 Cents, episode before last.
I mean, the first time you mentioned it to me, I think was like a week and a half ago.
But I mean, we talked about it on air, and you're like, oh, that's the reason you picked it?
I think that was off air. Was it on air?
I want to say it was on air, yeah.
You texted about me first, and then I asked you which version, and then I looked it up, and I was like, oh, duh, why did I even ask that question? It's obvious which one we're going with.
But yeah, in 2 Cents, you put it together. I didn't even know.
It's a Fred Zinnemann flick.
Yeah, the guy that directed High Noon, our first episode. That had nothing to do with it at all. It wasn't that it's a Best Picture winner. It won in '66 among other things like Best Actor, Best Director, I think Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Wardrobe. Like, won like 5 or 6 Oscars that year. It's more so Kevin Smith from that Colbert Show clip that we played during the intro, and he's praised it forever, basically. Like, I don't read everything he tweets, but he has sporadically through the years, I followed him for like 7 years or something on the internets, and he just brings it up on occasion. Or in the case of that clip, I guess it's Stephen Colbert's favorite film too, Jack Valenti, the subject of this film's not yet rated, it was one of his favorite films. John Wayne, like, a lot of people love this film, and after seeing it I can understand why. Like, it speaks, maybe I'm just speaking for myself and those famous figures, but it just speaks to men. Like, it has a very, it's not a manly movie, but
just
the
as
title
far
says
as like
it all.
having principles and just standing up for them. Yeah, like it's a lot of things. It's that, like, I don't know about you. I still can't decide whether between this and Witness, this is my favorite movie that I've seen. Doing this show, like,
oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have not had that much time to process this, but I was just stunned while watching it. And the most recent experience I had watching a movie, just feeling that, was seeing 2001 in 70 millimeter. But that was a movie I had seen before. So to have that with something like this, which is just mainly driven by words, like, there's so many other great things happening. But yeah, that is the star of this movie, is the dialogue. That is the easy thing to pick out and call that is great. And just that excitement that you feel of just seeing people talk and wanting to see what they're going to say next, that's something very few people have mastered. Like, I guess, you can see that on TV now with Game of Thrones and House of Cards. Like, Game of Thrones specifically, everything Tyrion Lannister says, like, that is, to me, the best stuff of that show. Is, like, there's also dragons and a bunch of cool shit, but really just the back and forth dialogue. That is my favorite stuff in Game of Thrones. And then you got people like Quentin Tarantino, who, yeah, everyone praises the shit out of, but that is his skill set, is that he just has such great dialogue that you want to see what someone is going to say next. Even Kevin Smith to a different extent. Yeah. But yeah, just fuck, man. Yeah, this was so good.
Like, this is adapted from a play. The play in 1962 won all the Tonys. Paul Scofield, who originated the role, I think, for like 360 performances on Broadway, got the role here. He's the star. He's playing Thomas More. You got the guy that wrote the play adapted the screenplay. So it's like the original like all-star game. Okay, like this is everyone that made it special doing it again, and they've done this to a lesser extent in the recent past. Like fucking, I think 9 kind of did this. Obviously, that failed.
That's a musical, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a musical, but I mean, it was adapted as a musical too.
Weaknesses, as far as thinking of it now, is like, yeah, this does feel far more structured like a theatrical play than a piece of cinema. Like, there are beautiful shots and there's great production design. Scenes are lit perfectly depending on the circumstances, but
it's a play.
Structurally, yeah, it totally is a play. You know, this isn't like Frost Nixon where it is cinematic, but yeah, this is a play first and foremost.
Yeah, the editing here is kind of weird too. There's a couple interesting stuff, like when he's in the Tower of London and you have that montage kinda of like through the prison cell where you see that little patch of grass go from like green to white to green again. You're like, oh, time passed.
Well, but then even just before that, how he just ends up at the tower.
Yeah,
it's
he
like,
just shows up.
You would swear like, oh, there are some scenes missing here, but it's like, no, that would be a transition in a play where
it's like the
scene ends and then the stage lights, they just dim, and then, I don't know, there's some sort of theatrical transition. Maybe the lights change, or, you know, the music in the play is doing something in the background. But yeah, it's very theatrical.
I agree with you. This is probably one of the better things I've seen on the show. I'm real happy that I finally saw it. And it's really marvelous in the ways you said. Like, you do want to see what they're going to say next, especially in just the way that they speak, because it's obviously adapted from a play, but it's still very theatrical in like a special Shakespearean way without being iambic pentameter. Like, they just sound a way that we don't speak anymore. Like, and it's not necessarily because they're eloquent. It's just they mean what they say, and they say what they mean, and they do it maybe not in a way that we pontificate and communicate, but even still, it's like it seems more real.
Well, then
like
again, this is higher, class
archaic.
talking. Like, I mean, especially when we do see the servants talking, they do talk just like normal people. It's not like they're stupid, but these people, they clearly are educated, and it's not like that's something new. It is a thing of status, mainly, I think.
Even still, though, what I'm trying to get at is when you watch interviews of, famous people or learned people, even today, astrophysicists, whatever it is, they don't speak in this manner. They aren't...
They try to communicate to everybody.
I'm not sure that's what it is. I think it's just the English language and human conversation, like the way it works now is you go directly to what you want to talk about. You're direct to the point. It's not flourishes and philosophical ideals. Because this whole film, I didn't even know this. I just want to see it, for the Kevin Smith reason. But it's historical. This is about King Henry VIII forming the Church of England, and you even get some like Lutheran stuff here. I didn't even know who Thomas More was, and now I want to research him. Like, he seems like an awesome guy.
I'm pretty sure this was covered in history class, but then again, we weren't in the same school.
But I probably also wasn't paying attention.
Luther definitely was.
I mean, I took religious studies classes, a lot of them in college, and I never remember Thomas More's name coming up. But then again, it wasn't like a history of religion that I took. The classes were more so like...
Just the concepts and the ideas.
More like the social aspect of religion and theological practices through the decades, and like what's the difference between a sect of religion and a church, and a cult. Like, how is it different? Like, that kind of stuff. It wasn't, and this is what happened, and what is this, like 1534 or whatever? Like, it didn't go into the nitty-gritty stuff, but I wish it did. Like this is a really fascinating character, but there's a lot here that I think was kind of blunted for me, not blunted, but like muted for me because of two other films, and one of them also being a play that I've seen that have very similar, not just messages, but centralized characters. You got, one of my favorite movies of all time, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and then also The Crucible. It's really the same thing. Mr. Smith, it's more about government and standing for graft and not going down without a fight, for standing up for what you believe in. It's a much more vocal performance than this one is, even though it's more literally vocal. And then The Crucible, if you haven't read it or seen it, is it's set during the Salem witch trial, but it's also a metaphor for the actual McCarthy witch hunt, and it's about losing your name. John Proctor has this really great monologue towards the end where he's like, "It is my name. Like, what is a man without his name?"
It's not just that; it's also social circles and paranoia, and even that is prevalent here. Like, that is basically, I don't know. Based on the structure of this, should I say it now or should I save it?
What?
That Thomas basically dies at the end, and how he's given that sense is
everyone dies.
All right, yeah, no, it's okay. It's history, but basically what happens is there's just this one testimony against him, which is total perjury from John Hurt, and that is basically
alumni, by the way. He's an alumni. He was on Gates of
Heaven's
Heaven.
Gate.
Heaven's Gate. There you go.
Yeah.
Gates of Heaven sounds way better.
No, early John Hurt too. Like, I don't think I'd seen anything with him pre-1970, so this is really, really young John Hurt. But just when you get to that trial at the end, like, they have nothing against him except for this one statement, which is perjury, and they totally buy it. Like, even the jury doesn't need time to think it over. They just go, "Oh yeah, he's guilty," just because.
I don't know. It's so weird. It's like, I don't think the jury actually believed that, because they were fucking slapped around in the court, like, among everyone, like, with Parliament. Like, what were they gonna do? Like, it's so weird, because I read that trial and the execution were both based on factual accounts that were published, like, in a contemporary Parisian newspaper, right? And so this is probably exactly what happened. And what kind of discourse did anyone have? Like, the king is obviously mad at this guy. If you're not mad at him, the king's going to be mad at you. And just the whole idea about the whole world, basically, at the time, because England was the world. If they're mad at you, then you have no discourse. Like, you can't even get a boat ride. You can't get a taxi, like, you can't get food. You can't read anymore.
Well, it's not just that. It's that the whole world is paying attention to him, or just to England in general. And if he gets to walk off okay, then what does that say about the king? And what does that say about England? That he's just going to let this one guy be allowed to talk shit on him without any sort of punishments, defy the king of England. That's the word I'm looking for, is just to defy him. And what does that say about the king? Even though... the king himself, he says it himself, that he's just a stubborn and simpleton. Like, this whole thing, it's not, I can't articulate it in one sense, but, like, that is one thing that is fascinating about this, in the same sense of something like House of Cards. It's that just political turmoil and backstabbing, and just how everyone has their own agenda to push, and it's,
It's a lot more nuanced here than it is in House of Cards or Game of
Thrones. But it is that kind of
like
fun.
That.
Like,
it is, it is. There is political undertones here, and then obviously theological ones too. But at the end of the day, this is just about one guy who is put in a sticky situation. Like, throughout him becoming chancellor and being a great lawyer or whatever, all that shit, about being a great man. And that scene is amazing, where he's like, "I am not a great man any longer. I do not need a great house. I do not need you. But don't
it's not
worry.
Just that, it's about him being true to his own principles,
Uh-huh.
as opposed to just bowing down to, jumping on the bandwagon like everybody else is.
Well, that's the whole movie, but I'm just saying, like, that scene in particular where he tells all of his servants, and at first they're like, "We're with you," and he's like, "Don't be with me. You're not with me any
longer."
longer.
You have no idea what I am thinking.
And it's
like, don't blindly follow me.
He's such not. I don't even know the word to really define him, but he's
honest.
He's definitely honest, but he's passionate. He's a passionate man, and he won't do anything because, like you said, that anyone does it, or he won't not do something because they're all doing it.
It's more he has his own ideals and he'll follow it. I mean,
It's not even his own ideals, though. Like, that's the thing. It's like, the reason why this is a universal story in the same way that Mr. Smith Goes to Washington is it's not like a singular man is the only one that would believe this. It's probably all men. The fact that if you are a man of your word, if you're someone that, has good friends people believe in, chances are when you say something, you follow up on it. If you believe in something, no one can shake your ground. Like, regardless of what happens, you're going to be you, and not even you, but you're going to stand for what you believe in, your morals, your code of honor. And he will never stop that. And it gets deeper here because of its relation to God and how he doesn't really support the Church of England's formation, even though he initially opposes his soon-to-be son-in-law's conversion to Lutheranism. It's more so that it's just he believes in this kind of God. He believes in the Pope's stance. He believes in if the Pope is brought in to make this marriage happen so the king can have a son, and then oh no, it didn't matter because it's his brother's widow, so now we got to get the Pope to do a divorce now too. Oh, he won't do that? Let's make our own church so it's okay. Like I think most people are familiar with this story, especially if you have any kind of understanding or you are part of the Catholic Church. And then when you throw that in there, it's like, well, it kind of makes sense why this would be one of Kevin Smith's favorite movies, because he is so critical of that institution with proof such as Dogma.
Well, that and Red State, I mean, because this, that is what this conflict is about, is that he doesn't
Red
agree
State's
with
about
it
the
because
extremists.
church and state should be not, the state has no right to invade into church.
I think on paper that's the story.
Yeah.
If you look at the history books, I'm sure that's what it would relay in terms of these characters or these
That's what he
historical
says in his
figures.
final statement, though, at the end scene, is that when he gets to say his piece, he says, hey, the king should not have done that, that is against the law of God.
Yeah, I think it's
He
against
has
God,
no right
not
to do that.
that's the thing. I think it's more about how he perceives, not necessarily the religion, but his maker, the creator of his world or our world, and that a man should not trespass into that category. Like he talks about why the Pope is important. Like Jesus met the Pope, okay? And he's like, well, this king, he's just a king. What if someone else were to become king? Like that doesn't make a difference. He's a king is just it's a place. Like he's a man. I think it's less to do with the combination of church and state, and more so just he knows this king. This is a foolish person. This is a guy who fucking gets a parade of boats to his house
it's not necessarily
unannounced,
the movie
jumps into
itself
the
saying
mud.
it's against church and state. I'm saying that's what his ideas of it are. Those are his principles, and that regardless of whether you agree with it or not, that is the entire point of this movie, is to be true to your own principles and your own ideas, and he sticks with them. He sees this simpleton king as not the guy definitely to be leading the Church of England, but also that what he's doing is illegal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. I think it's less so his disdain for the man. It's more so because he is very obviously a practice man. Like he knows law. That's what he is famous for. That's why he is great. I would assume he was one of the better judiciary captains or whatever they called him back then. In the country or in the world. I don't know if he's necessarily a lawyer. He's a magistrate.
He practiced
or something.
law, though. Yeah.
He practiced law, and he's respected for that reason. He has a firm understanding of law and what it means. Like he quotes the Magna Carta later in the film, and it's just like, fuck the king, fuck you, fuck this court, fuck everyone here. You're all scum. I'm gonna tell a joke or two, but there's nothing you can say to me. There's nothing you can do to me. My family's gone. I have no worries. Like, I'm sure God will take me. Don't have any... He tells the executioner, like, don't be saddened. Here's some money, Like, do you. Like, I know I'm going to be greeted by God. And that person asks him, like, why would God meet you? He's like, for someone like me... I wish I could quote it, but basically, like, why would he turn away someone like me when I've never done anything against him? Like, I'm greeting him, like... forthright, like I'm purposely going to him. It's so great. I can almost imagine this being like a 90s blockbuster with Mel Gibson, though. In the same way that like in the same way in The Last Action Hero where Schwarzenegger gets the Hamlet little thing. I could imagine this being an action movie starring Mel Gibson. And then
but one that you can take seriously, though, right?
Yeah. I'm talking like pre-Patriot. Like when he was a true,
or
in between his Braveheart directing, where he was like, oh, this is like one of the best, not only actors right now, but also he's a masterful filmmaker. And before he jumped off the deep end, like in between there, when he was still one of the biggest guys in Hollywood, and he still might be. I mean, Heartbreak Ridge, Heartstone Ridge?
Yeah,
it's about faith too. So I'm excited to see Andrew Garfield in that. Love him. But yeah, I could totally see this because I know it got adapted again. And like you said, which version? And apparently the 1988 version that was made for TV it retains the same structure. And I was reading this; it sounds awesome the way the actual place works, because the guy who plays what is it like the secretary here, John Hurt's boss.
Cromwell.
Yeah. So in the play, the way it worked is he played the role of the common man. So the person who taxis him in the boat, all of his servants, the jailer, anyone in the movie that is a bit role who's only in one scene, it was him. And he's the consistent character because he played, quote unquote, the common man. And so he would set up, he would talk to the crowd, he would explain certain things, and at the end when you get that voiceover about where these historical figures went, who died, who lived, what happened, syphilis,
It was the guy
whatever.
that says it.
Yeah, so like there was an actual story structure there. It would have been awesome if they kept it in this version.
I did think that was a bit off with that final voiceover there, which is like, okay, these facts are kind of nice, but you're explaining things that are happening like 5 years later, and I'm not given that much context. I can just assume, based on the way that Moore sees things, as why these guys are being sentenced and how this came to bite them back in the ass, but.
I don't even see it that way. It was more so, everyone
it's more
dies, and back
leaving
then
it for
you were
me
gonna
to fill the blanks in as far as to why, who did what, because I'm,
I
being
saw
told
that.
that they died. It's like, well, usually like when you see a movie that's based on a true story, you get like that one or two sentences there, but there's a little bit of an explanation as to what they died for, what they're being found guilty of, and this was just like, oh, treason. It's like, okay, why? Because the king said it was such. Is that it?
It was. If it was text, it would have worked a lot better. Because those ending credits are really lackluster too. Like you get these really powerful scenes back to back, and just the whole like final 40 minutes of this is just so masterful that you finally get to the end, and it's like, oh, it's over. I kind of
wish
wish
you just get that voiceover and then the music and the credits roll. It's like, oh, all right.
I wish he kept on going. Like if
Seriously.
he, after his head rolled off, like he's actually in heaven, and God's like, "Nah, you fucked up. I love the Church of England." Right?
That might be a bit too far.
I don't know, because
That's how
I saw
Kevin
this.
Smith would have done it.
Definitely, but
Yeah.
I watched this in two parts. I watched the first half last night. I was really tired, and then I watched the second half this morning. It was a great way to do it because it was like if I were to have seen the play, that's when the second act would have started most likely. Like it was right when he got put in prison. So I would assume that's the second act.
Yeah, there is a mini-series of this, evidently, because that's what I thought, when I asked if which version you wanted to watch, that I think it has Charlton Heston in it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Apparently, he wanted to be the star in this, and they told him no. He was like, fuck you, I'll make my own version then. He was like, he did the play on stage, and then he filmed his own mini-series, as he wouldn't take no for an answer. He's like, I can be Moses and this guy. I can be everyone.
He's Judah Ben-Hur. He's, what's his face from Planet of the Apes?
He's fucking
I don't
everyone.
remember the character name. I just remember he's in Planet of the Apes. That's what he's known for.
He's the guy that says "damn dirty apes."
Exactly, yeah.
He's that guy.
He's the lead in Planet of the Apes, but
he's
no
Mark
one remembers his
Wahlberg
name.
before Mark Wahlberg. There you go. The wardrobe here is pretty kick-ass. The robes and everyone gets, like, most of them are wearing basically the same thing the whole movie. Like, the king has those really kick-ass golden ones. But you really get, like, a trajectory of who John Hurt is based on what he's wearing. Like, the movie starts off, he's wearing, like, rags. You don't really understand. First off, his name is Richard Rich.
Yeah,
which is
Richie Rich.
It's Richie Rich. That's really weird. And
Does
he's
he get
poor.
a Christmas wish?
I don't
Yeah,
he's
know.
fucking poor here, which is really weird. But it just you get that trajectory. Oh, here's the cup. Use the cup. Get the better robes. Get the better robes. Work for this bad guy. Get better ones. And then
What I really
you're the fucking,
like, though, about this production design is that you look at, this concept that Star Wars brought in for science fiction of the used future, in that, not everything looks slick or cool or just amazing. It's, is that the future is used. It's just everyday stuff that these people have. Here, I don't know about you, but when I see period pieces, I do get that feeling, like especially when they're nominated for Oscars and that's what they're going for, is that they're meant to look very lavish and beautiful and just
like perfect,
amazing.
yeah.
They're perfectly clean. Whereas this, it's like, it's the period. It's a recreation of it. It's not meant to look like absolutely just jaw-droppingly amazing. Even the king, like, he has some nice wardrobe, but it's
He
not
jumps
like
in
the
the mud.
flashiest, most amazing thing that I've ever seen in my life. It's just like,
Kinda.
okay, yeah, it looks
I don't know
nice. It
that.
looks like royalty to me.
He kind of looked real fucking flashy. Like,
Oh no, compared to everybody else, but it wasn't like being fetishized or anything.
I don't know.
is
If I
what I'm
saw
saying.
someone dressed like that on the street, I'd probably bow down just because. I'm like, wow, you really went the full 9. But the fact that, like I said, the first scene you get of him, his boat lands after that introduction scene, and then he jumps in the mud, and all of his friends jump in the mud. Like they are dirty
Quote,
people.
friends.
I wish, well, his court, okay? I wish it was a little dirtier, though, because, you got these people rowing the boats, you got the people on the cobblestones. A lot of it's not outside, it is a play. It's shot in a studio. But the fact when, Thomas is in the Tower of England and his family comes to visit him, and his hands are filthy, but his face is perfectly clean, and he's clean-shaven, and his hair looks good. And I'm like, okay, I know it's a movie. I understand this is an older movie.
Like it's the 60s, yeah.
Right? It was like, you should have like a beard by now. You've been in here for, I would assume, over a year. You've read
Well, he has
all
a
of these
trial
fucking
coming up.
books.
They're making him look good.
No,
I guess I
like-
could make a small leap there, not a perfect one.
I think it's just more so in the 60s, no one would be caught dead with facial hair, so they
no,
didn't
yeah,
do it.
definitely.
Like that had to be what it is. Did you catch that Orson Welles was in this movie?
How could I not? Well,
I
first off,
didn't
I
know that
saw
was
the
him.
opening credits, and I was like, "Oh shit, Orson Welles is here. That's awesome!" And then I see the Cardinal, and I don't recognize it.
Right?
But then
You're like, he's really fat and cut it by now.
I hear that voice, and I'm like, "Oh my god, is that Orson Welles?" 25 years after Citizen Kane, like I know that Orson Welles gained a shit ton of weight, and that's the joke, is that he ate his fat ass to death. I'm not being insensitive. I'm just quoting.
It's not a joke.
Superbad.
It's the truth.
Yeah,
Him and
but
Elvis.
oh my god, like, wow, did he look unhealthy?
Yeah, I
Like,
didn't.
he was great, but holy shit, man!
He-
Like, goddamn, Orson Welles really let himself go.
Kind of looked like my mom's mom. To be honest, look at my grandmother. I was like, is that her? I don't know. Like, it was really weird. Like, there's a couple other little cameos here too. You get
Well, I gotta say, for Orson Welles, he did look better later on after this movie.
Did he?
Yeah, you watch that for fake. He looks better.
I've seen him in one movie. 2 movies?
No,
I think it's just one.
I still need to see more. Or have you only seen Citizen Kane?
Yeah, I believe so.
You
I might
gotta
have
watch
seen
The
him
Third
in.
Man.
No, well, it's on the list. We'll do it eventually. But I just, I know what he looks like. I've seen enough still photography and all that kind of shit.
F for Fake is a great documentary that he did. Like, I think that's one, might be his last directorial film. I don't know, but that's one you should really check out.
Maybe.
Could very
I don't
well
know.
make it on the show.
He's one of those dudes where it's like, I made. Because he was moderately successful before Citizen Kane. He's like the most famous radio personality. He did the War of the
Yeah, the
World
Mercury
shit
Theater.
and all those teleplays, the Time Machine, and everything on the radio. But then he makes one movie and he's like the definition of a prima donna. He's like, like maybe because back then not everyone said it was the best movie of all time, but I'm sure he knew it in his heart, and he probably told everyone when he met him. He's like, "Oh, I'm Orson Welles. I'm on the radio, and I made the best movie of all time." Like,
Yeah, but the battle for that movie was not of the quality of the movie. The conversation was somewhere else.
Maybe
Somewhere completely
it was
different.
probably
That was
on,
over
yeah.
William Randolph Hearst.
Yeah,
trying
it
to
was
censor
probably
him.
on the Hearst stuff, but even
Yeah.
still, I can just assume he seems like the kind of guy, the just the egocentric that knew, like he was
Absolutely.
aware of his qualifications, and I think that's why he's more
When you're
fascinating.
25 and you get to make a deal with Hollywood to do anything you want, there's no compromises that you have to make. How can you not? I would have the biggest fucking ego in the world if I got that.
It's like, how many people out there have seen the gif of him clapping from Citizen Kane after his wife does her first opera, and they don't even know what it's from? Like, that's so ubiquitous. It's like, oh, someone posted something good, thank them sarcastically. I wish I could have saw this in a theater. I think this would be the perfect revival kind of showing. Like, if they show this at the New Beverly or something, that because I could just imagine an audience cheering at certain moments,
Or just
Not at the-
laughing at very specific moments.
yeah, certain parts, because this isn't a funny movie, but it does have its quips.
There's
Thomas,
a lot of wit, especially from
Yeah.
Thomas.
Thomas More gets his little witticisms. He gets his little lines, especially during the court proceedings towards the end. But it's not funny. It's a very serious movie about a very serious topic, and regardless, it's just it's really a ride without much happening. The fact that you're this invested in a conversation, just a singular conversation, really, that never ends until he dies. It's like I want to search out for Moore's writing. I want to see if, I'm assuming a learned man would publish things at this time, if it's even comprehensible by today's terms, like if I can understand his thoughts. And I'd probably buy that book for $1, and I'll definitely buy this film for $1. Yeah, I don't. It's weird though. Like, it's definitely a classic. It's a Best Picture winner. It's a Tony winner. It's all that stuff. And even still, this is the kind of movie that I can't recommend to everyone. Like, on the whole, yes, to humanity and to men, especially people that stay true to their word. I have to buy it for $1. But if I was talking to someone and movies came up and they said, "What did you see recently?" and I told them about this, based on how I gauge them or how I know them, I would know to recommend it or not. Because despite this being just a fantastic film and a great journey, you can kind of tell just certain movies aren't for certain people, and this would lose a lot of people, especially today. And not because of the way they communicate, but just despite the conversation going fast, it is a slow film. It's a slow story. I don't think most people our generation.
That was not an issue for me at all.
For us it's okay. We watch a lot of movies, but I think for millennials, for people, our contemporaries, our peers, the people of our generation, I think that they would have a hard time watching this just because they'd probably want to take their phone out and check Twitter.
I don't think so necessarily, but I don't think it's completely alienating. I just think there's a way to butter them up to get them ready for that. Like, there are a lot of people that will watch something like House of Cards and be entertained by that. And I think, if it's just depending on how you sell it, that you can get someone ready for this, but...
Well, you see, the difference, though, is that House of Cards and Game of Thrones, that there's a lot of stuff going on besides just the action and death and mayhem. You have the bad words and sex. Well, not the sex. Sex is on, every episode of at least one of those shows.
Excluding Game of Thrones, though, like House of Cards, there's definitely those big moments, but they take a while to get there.
They do take a while.
They're spaced from episode to episode.
But even still, like I said, I think it's more so that it's set during the modern era, that they speak the way we do. Well, besides Frank Underwood, he has his own mannerisms. But they're using cell phones. It's set in the present day, so there's computer hacking. There's things that they can relate to. This is men talking about a king becoming a god. It's fascinating, especially from historical context, because it's true. But I'm not necessarily sure if a lot of people our age would willingly watch something like this. Like I said, just because, they binge watching something is one thing, but it's like I said, even when the most people that watch Netflix or watch TV, they do it with their phone or their tablet or their computer readily available. They're using it, they're snapping the TV show they're watching so they can tell their friends, "Hey, I'm watching Stranger Things now." This is the kind of movie that if you look down at your phone for a second, you are going to miss a line of dialogue. You're going to miss something. You're going to have to rewind it and understand, because it happened to me. So,
I am definitely not among most viewers as far as how they watch stuff today. I do set my phone off to the side. I disconnect myself from the internet. I watch more movies in theaters now for that very reason, too. It's just, especially at the Alamo Drafthouse now, it's like I, more so now than ever, I am just more conditioned to watch something, giving it my full attention regardless of what it is. If ever I am just spacing out, it's only because I'm so bored that my thoughts are going elsewhere. But I don't know how specifically to pitch that. I know for something like this, I have had people watch movies that I've recommended to them and then only find out months later that they were watching half of it while the other half was focused on some other screen. So I cannot be the judge of that, but I mean, God, I love this movie, so I really, really don't want to ever dissuade anyone from checking it out. This isn't something like My Dinner with Andre, where I know there's people that are incredibly bored when they're watching that movie. Although even then, I think that
boring movie. That's the point of the movie. It's supposed to be a boring movie, though. It's just a singular conversation.
It's supposed to be a conversation. It's not supposed to be boring. It's a fascinating conversation. It's one that can turn you off. But
I'm not talking about the conversation. I'm talking about the movie. As a film, as a motion picture, it is inherently boring. It's two people talking. This is lots of people talking across lots of different sets, and they're talking about things that are important.
People talking can be fascinating. I mean, there's nothing boring to me about that.
No, that's why we have a podcast. You know, like I would obviously hope that people find conversation enticing, but on screen when you're watching it for what dinner with
No,
Andre
there are
is like
video
80
podcasts.
minutes or something.
People watch other people talk. Howard Stern has people watching him talk, and he's just sitting in the same chair. He's been doing it for what, years? Like, probably has a decade's worth of content out there of just him talking and sitting there.
I doubt most people watch him, and when they watch him now, it's probably for the guests that he gets on, or the cute girls that work with him. I highly doubt it's for him. He is not a good-looking dude. His hairstyle is pretty horrible.
I'm just saying that there are people do watch other people talk. That's all I'm saying.
But yeah, if I were to recommend a film like this with this kind of story, with this kind of message, I would maybe it's because I'm biased, because instead of being about England, it's about the American community. But I would much rather recommend, or I would probably more so recommend, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, mostly because it's Patrick Stewart, not Patrick Stewart. It's Jimmy Stewart. It's funny. It's a Frank Capra movie. There's a romance. There's great visual imagery, especially of the National Mall.
I'm sorry,
and
I just
monuments.
can't imagine anything else except for Patrick Stewart doing the filibuster and just telling them, put the boys' camp on Willett Creek.
I won't stand for graft, and the USS
the
Enterprise will not either. Set phases to stun. Like, oh man, that's a good one. I should definitely flub that more often. But no, that's a much more, even though it's a long movie. I think it speaks more to people just because there's more to get you interested. You got Jimmy Stewart doing bird calls, and you got his boys club, and you got his mom with the jam, and you got all these little great American, like, oh look, it's pre-World War II. This is what it used to be like here. And
the Great Depression was wonderful, you guys.
Sure. I mean, it's in the interim. The Depression's over in 39. Okay.
No, it ends at the end of World War II.
It was
The war
starts like 3 years after Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. It's 2. Okay, even better.
Well,
like
U.S.'s involvement 2 years later.
It's basically over by the time that film came out, and proof of that matter is Wizard of Oz and The Gone with the Wind came out that same year. If you're making movies that cost that much money, the country must have some money.
No, the reason why movies were so popular was because there was a depression.
No, I'm not saying it was popular. I'm saying if you could afford to make the first 2 color films with that extravagant of a budget.
Yeah, studios were kicking ass during the Great Depression. They were financially fine. Everybody else, on the other hand, not so much.
They made those movies, but I'm just saying, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington ranks higher on my pedestal in terms of movies of this caliber, because this one, it is much more serious. You have to pay attention. You have there's less going on that gets you reeled in. Like I said, I couldn't see myself recommending this to everyone, whereas Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, I think, is a film that everyone should see for basically the exact same reasons I think everyone should see this one.
I mean, yeah, I think that's fair.
Thanks for listening. We hope it's been a pleasure. If you like this show and you want to hear more of our wonderful voices on a weekly basis, check out 2 Cents. I'll recap what's happened in film, TV, and tech news.
We're also on the titular Dollar Review Show, a spoiler-free critique of new releases or anything we've discovered on our own, whether that be TV, music, etc.
You can find all of our content at dollarreviews.net. Follow us on Twitter, or like us on Facebook at Dollar Reviews.
And we're also on Google Play Music, iTunes, Pocket Cast, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, just about anywhere on the internet with hours of content available to you for free. But for those of you that feel that the show is worth your dollar, you can send us a donation at patreon.com/dollarreviews. Contributions not only earn our undying love, but they also make it possible for us to improve our recording equipment and to give you the highest quality episodes possible. But more importantly, they'd be helping us acquire the content to review. Trips to the multiplex are expensive, and the more donations we receive, the more films we can review for your listening pleasure.
If you listen somewhere we're currently not available, you'd like to contribute some talking points, send a Death to Cinema request, or if you just want to laugh at us, You can do so by reaching out to us on social media or send an email to brian@dollarreviews.net.
Or you can email me as well, steve@dollarreviews.net.
You can follow me personally on Twitter at Brian Gillis, that's BRYONGILLIS, and now you know how to spell the email too, and also under the same name on the lovely site Letterboxd, which acts as my film diary, where I rate films I'm watching, write the occasional review, and even sometimes compile lists.
You can also find me on Twitter at S_MTX, and also follow my film diary at Letterboxd under the same name, where I log everything I watch, and sometimes write brief reviews.
That's it for this week. Until next time, keep the change.